Hello, Jason. It's not Friday, June 6th, but rather Sunday, June 8th. Which means that this video comes to you late because I was really tired on Friday and spent the majority of Saturday doing other things. But as the old saying goes, better late than never. First things first, Badass Mother Friday, or as it seems to be the past couple of weeks, Badass Mother Sunday. This week's notable person is a man by the name of Ernest Cline, who you probably have never heard of, but he wrote this book called Ready Player One, but that's just the beginning of his story. Though, I suppose if you want to get technical, the beginning of his story would be the 1980s, a decade which left a really strong impression on him and led him ultimately to write this book. I haven't read the book yet, but I did buy it yesterday, and I intend to read it when I'm done Under the Dome by Stephen King, which I'm about 300 pages into now. But anyway, the book is about a not-too-distant future where technology allows you to basically integrate into virtual worlds. And the story starts with the death of a multi-billionaire creator of just such a virtual world, only he has no real apparent heir, so he's left his fortune to whoever can solve the mysteries that he's created inside of his virtual world. Essentially, the cover describes the story as a mixture between The Matrix and Willy Wonka, and I think that that's a really good description from what I've heard about the book overall. But it doesn't end there, because you see, the characters in the book have to find these hidden Easter eggs in a virtual video game world, and Ernest Cline decided, maybe I should do that, but with the book. And so, more than a year after the book's release, the author came out and said, there's a hidden code inside the book, and whoever can find it and solve the challenges that it leads to is going to win a special prize. And if you've written a book that's nostalgic for the 80s and deals with nerd culture, what's the ultimate prize that you could give? A DeLorean. And so Ernest Cline, the author of this book, which had been out for more than a year, announced that this contest was going on and ended up giving away a DeLorean to one lucky winner who solved the code and then completed the challenges that followed. And that is badass. Moving on again, I finally got around to watching 2001: A Space Odyssey, which means I'm finally ready to review 2001: A Space Odyssey, the movie, and the book. The first thing I'll say is something that's going to match with the opinions of a lot of people considering the movie, and that's that it takes a really long time to accomplish very little. I understand that the pacing was something that Stanley Kubrick was going for in order to show the monotony of traveling through space, but when it takes 20 minutes to perform something which in the book is over 2 pages, it's a little gratuitous. And while the majority of the story is the same, the detail that's in the book is severely lacking in the movie. And the reason that I think this is the case is because Arthur C. Clarke was a scientist first and foremost, and he was intimately concerned with the details of how these futuristic machines would work. Whereas the movie just shows us. It can't really describe the way that these things work without interrupting the story. And so, while I generally do enjoy the films of Stanley Kubrick, I have to say that rewatching 2001: A Space Odyssey, I didn't really enjoy it as much as I remembered enjoying it. Having said that, the book was definitely really interesting, and I don't really read a whole lot of science fiction, but it's a better example than the majority of what I have read. Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy aside, because that's basically the ultimate science fiction series ever, because it's funny. The one place that I will say both the movie and the book are lacking is in the ending. I mean, it's not really a proper ending for an Odyssey, is it? You'll note that I purposely left out any detail about the ending in case you haven't seen the movie or read the book. You're welcome. But I am aware that there are sequels, so perhaps reading them would provide a more satisfying ending for me. In terms of scores, I would give the book and the movie very different values. In terms of the book, I would give it an entertainment score of 4 out of 5, whereas I would give it a literary value of about 3 out of 5, just because it's science fiction. It's not really meant to be life-changing or mind-blowing. But for the movie, I would give it an entertainment score of only 1 out of 5, where I would give it a literary or filmic value of 4 out of 5, because it really did manage to accomplish a lot of things for its time. Especially considering the fact that we're rather spoiled nowadays. If we want to create fictional space, we can do that on a computer. We don't have to actually create it. Side note, boo gravity. And now on to Battleship. Your last shot was a hit, and it didn't sink anything, so keep looking for that spy ship. And once again, I'm faced with a situation where neither of my choices is any more or less probable than the other one, so whether I shoot to the left or to the right doesn't really seem of any consequence. So I'm just going to go with my gut feeling and attack H6.